So I started a dynasty and created a head coach for the sole purpose of getting it to level 50 without spending any of the coach points along the way. That way, once it did hit level 50, I would then have 495 points that I could go in and basically try to create a build that I really wanted. So the main thing that I wanted with this build was I wanted it to be an elite recruiter, but I also did not want it to basically suffer in any of the other areas. So this is like the base of the build. Uh, from here on out, everything else was just going to be extra. So for motivator, I wanted all of this at tier 3. That way the players would get an off-season training boost. And then in tactician, I wanted all of this at tier 4. For recruiter, I wanted all of this at tier 3. And then for the elite recruiter, I just wanted tier 1 to get the additional interest for every 10 hours spent, because that's actually pretty good. So tier 1 was what I wanted, like the base build to be. So once I hit this point, I noticed I had 207 points left that I could then go in and finish out the build. So I ended up with 2 different versions, went in 2 different directions, but both of them ended up being amazing. So I'm going to start with the first one. Okay, so this is, I guess, the first version of this build. It's completely done. For motivator, everything is still tier 3. For tactician, all of this is still tier 4. For recruiter, this is all still tier 3. And then in the elite recruiter, I took D6 to tier 3 just because I had the extra points when I was done. But unfortunately, this one is still tier 1. I mean, tier 1 is what I wanted to begin with. So, I mean, it's fine. And since I wanted this build to be like an elite recruiter, I did go into Program Builder and I just upgraded the pop-ons. And then in CEO, I took Delay Sunday just because I wanted, a chance to keep my best players around a little bit longer. And then I also took Dream School. However, I don't really think Dream School is worth it, because I ran tests before getting Dream School and then with Dream School. And for instance, when you are recruiting and you get 2 players to insta-commit without Dream School, and then you take Dream School and you get 2 players to insta-commit, it doesn't really seem like it's that worth it. So once I noticed that, I decided that I didn't want it anymore. And since I'm not getting this, I might as well not get this, because it would be 48 points for just this one thing. So I decided to go back to the save that had the base build and just go a different direction. So this is version 2 of the build. This time, everything in Motivator is tier 3. So the kickers got included because they are people too. In Tactician, everything is tier 4. I don't really like this though. I don't know why I took this to tier 4, because I don't do any of this. So it kind of seems like a waste. Actually, it kind of is a waste. That would have been 12 points extra, so I would have had 14 total that I could have then upgraded something else. Dang. It's too late now. And then for recruiter, all of this is tier 3, and then I got this up to tier 1. So I could have possibly got this to tier 3. And then in the elite recruiter, everything's tier 1. Once again, I could have possibly got that to tier 1 if I wouldn't have got that cross-training. Program builder, I kept the upgrades to the pop-ons. And then for architect, I decided to take tier 2. That way the players would get additional XP, as well as have a chance to increase a random skill cap when they level up. Limitless and even put a ring on it are extremely good. So there's no CEO in this build. Like I said, 48 points for just that one thing didn't really seem viable to me. But I really do like this build. I love the way it came out. It's good in every area. Like, I see people putting out videos all the time where they're like, this is a Nick Saban build. This, I feel like, is a Nick Saban top-ish build. I'm not saying this is Nick Saban, but this is definitely like a GOAT tier build because it doesn't lack in any area. So the coordinators that you get, you don't have to get coordinators to, make up for something that you're lacking. They just improve on what you already have, which makes everything that you've done even better. So I really, really like this build. Both of them, honestly, but I did want Architect in it. It was kind of hard to get two coordinators that had Architect. That was the only issue with it. So if you want to do a build like this, the friends and family discount as well as the bundle discount are extremely important. Extremely. Just the friends and family discount alone can save you 30 points. And 30 points, I mean, while it's not, 400, it's still enough to make a difference. So for this one, I started as a recruiter, spent 75 points in this just so I could unlock Program Builder. And then I immediately went in and got tier 3 of this to get the friends and family discount. And then immediately went into CEO and took the bundle discount. And then from there, I looked for coordinators that were motivators and tacticians. So when it came to unlocking tactician and motivator, it was 0 points. So it would normally be 10 to unlock motivator and then 10 to unlock tactician. So, I mean, there's already 20 points. When it came time to unlock the elite recruiter, after I had gotten 2 elite recruiter coordinators, it was only 5 points. So what would normally be 35 points was only 5. And that helped a lot. So once I got done with elite recruiter, I started to work on Architect, and I did eventually have to take a job as a coordinator to get the points back from Program Builder and CEO, and then I just went through and finished up the build. So in the end, both of these are really good builds. Like I said, I preferred the one that had Architect, but honestly, I think both are absolutely amazing. And they weren't extremely hard to build. It just took time to get the architects. So once I was done with the other build, I decided that I wanted to try to make another one. But this one, I wanted it to focus on getting the most out of the players that you have. So for Recruiter, on this version, I ended up going to Tier 1 just to help with the scouting. Tactician, all of this is tier 4. Motivator, all of this is tier 3. And then Master Motivator, all of this is tier 3. And then in Architect, all of this is tier 2. So this one was a little bit more difficult to actually complete because I had to get 2 Master Motivators as well as 2 Architects, and that did take a while. But once I was done with this build, I felt like I made a mistake getting this. So I decided to do it without this. So in this version of this build, Recruiter does not have anything in it. Tactician still has all of this at tier 4. Motivator still has all of this at tier 3. And then for Master Motivator, all of this is tier 3, and then this is tier 4. Just because I had a few extra points, and I decided that the quarterbacks having a composure boost at the start of games would be a good thing. And then in Architect, all of this is tier 2, except for the running backs. I've already put out multiple videos about running backs and how good they can be. So I just decided as a personal preference to get this to tier 4. It could go on the quarterback, the wide receiver. It could go anywhere. Put it on the kickers. They don't get any love. So you could put it on anything. So like I said, this build was a little bit harder to do. So I started as a motivator. Once again, I went in, spent 75 points. Unlocked Program Builder, got the Friends and Family discount. Unlocked CEO to get the bundle discount. And then started working on the base motivator. Then from there, I started to work on the master motivator tier. So originally, this was not tier 3, and this was not tier 3. So that didn't come until later. So just pretend like it's not done yet. So all of this, I wanted to get to tier 3, except for this one. And then once I was done with the Master Motivator tier, I was actually starting to run pretty low on points. I had 77 points left, but I still had the Program Builder as well as CEO. So I had extra points just sitting around that I couldn't use. So then I decided to start working on Architect. And at that time, I only had one coordinator that had Architect. I mean, he had everything at tier 4, but I only had one. So I spent over an hour going through, adding stuff up, trying to see exactly how much points I would need for everything that I wanted. And I came to a conclusion that I did not even need a second architect. So I just went ahead and continued working on this build with only one architect. So everything in here was 7 points at that moment. So I ended up getting all 4 of these to tier 2, this to tier 2, and then I was only able to get this to tier 1, and I ran out of points. So then I took a job as a coordinator, got the points back from CEO and Program Builder, took another job as a head coach, and then I immediately went back in, unlocked CEO, and took the bundle discount. So once I did that, I decided that I actually did want to include the kickers in this. So I found one master motivator, and the other one just had the base motivator. I finished this out, and then I got this to tier 1. And then in Tactician, I did have to take the passing game from tier 3 to tier 4. And then it was at that moment on the other version where I went into Recruiter and took all of that to tier 1. But I didn't do that in this one, so I just immediately went back into Architect. So I had tier 1 already done. Tier 2 I bought with 8 points. And then these 2 I bought with 8 points. And then after that, I was out of points again. So I had to take another coordinator job, get the points back that I'd spent in CEO, and then from there, I actually went in and finished the build. I took this up to tier 3, I took that to tier 4, and then I went back into Architect, and I used the remaining points that I had, getting this to tier 4. So this one did have a few extra steps in it, so it was a little bit more difficult. So if I would have actually tried to get a second architect, the only difference in this build right now would be that this would be tier 2. Like, that's it. This one single thing could be tier 2. And I decided it just really wasn't worth the hassle to get something that I don't I don't use. So one architect ended up being good enough. So out of both of these versions, I do think they're both really good. There's not that much of a difference between them. Uh, I really dislike scouting and it taking a bunch of hours to do it. But I think what I ended up doing fits what I wanted to do better. So I think I like this one better. Even though this build was kind of time consuming and difficult to complete, I do really like it. So I think I want to work on a build that includes talent developer. So I would want talent developer, motivator, and architect. So tactician and recruiter would only have 25 points in it because you have to spend 25 in this to unlock this, just like you have to spend 25 in recruiter to unlock this. I think this would be even more difficult than this one because with these two builds and all the different versions that I've done, I've only seen one coordinator that had talent developer maxed out. And talent developer is actually not that good unless you do get tier 4. That way they gain XP faster. Because tier 3, the lower rated players will progress faster. That does have an overall cap. And I think it's like 75. Like it could possibly be like 78. I don't really remember, but I know that there is a cap. So once the players get above that, like this doesn't matter anymore. Only tier 4 would. And you can't get tier 4 without tier 3, so I mean you're kind of just stuck getting it. And I would actually like to get tier 4 for all of them. It may not include the kickers though, because that's going to be a lot of points. I think it's 164 to get all 8 to tier 4. And I would really like to be able to get tier 3 in Master Motivator along with it. Oh, this is going to be hard. I don't know if it's possible. I would definitely have to take the kickers out. That would have to happen. So for architect, this would be some points saved. Of course, that would have been points saved. So all of that, I would probably just try to get all of this to tier 2. Like tier 4 would be amazing, but there's no way that could happen. And then in tactician, with the discount, I might be able, yeah, with the discount, I can get everything to tier 1 and then one thing to tier 2, and that would be the 25 points. I mean, it would technically be over 25, considering that to get all 8 to tier 1 is 24 points. Of course, I could take one thing for 4 points and just be done. I think I would do that because I wouldn't actually want to spend more points than I needed. And that would save 2 points that way. The same with recruiter. Everything would go to tier 1. I don't know, like, I do think this is going to be difficult, but I'm going to at least try it and then do like a full guide for it as I'm building it instead of just building it and then and then walking you through how I did it by telling you. But if I do that, I'd also want to include this. Yeah, this is going to be. I don't think it's possible. I'm going to try, but I don't think it's possible. So I guess I'm going to get started on that. All right, see y'all.